This morning, the investigation into a young Perth boy's death after a family's plea for blood tests at Joondalup Hospital falls on deaf ears. A prestigious Perth school under the spotlight for sex assault allegations. Nine Entertainment chairman Peter Costello denies an airport assault. And a disgraced former Eagles star learns his fate after being convicted of family violence.
This is 7 Morning News, live from Perth, with Tim McMillan.
Good morning. There's an investigation this morning into the death of a toddler at Joondalup Health Campus. The 21-month-old died after his family claims to have made repeated requests for blood tests after the boy suffered from a long-running fever. Sandipan Dar died on March 24. The case is hauntingly similar to that of Aishwarya Aswath. The post-mortem has now confirmed the boy died from leukemia. We'll have more in the news at 6. There's quite a mess after a car accident in Bentley this morning. A vehicle hit a power pole, then a tree, and finally a brick wall. Police say a 43-year-old was behind the wheel but fled the wreck armed with a knife. Officers found him a short time later. The crash happened at the intersection of Leach and Albany highways around 1:15 this morning. The driver was taken to hospital by ambulance and inquiries are ongoing. Fallen West Coast Eagle Daniel Kerr is right now being sentenced on family violence charges against his former partner and mother to his children. It occurred over an 8-year period. The 40-year-old already received a 2-year jail term for setting fire to his parents' house last year. Kerr walked into court this morning, a little while after his parents. We'll bring you more updates on his sentencing this afternoon. There's a plea to students and parents who attended a prestigious Perth school. An ex-student from Guildford Grammar has alleged years of trauma. Now, law firm Maurice Blackburn is asking anyone connected to the school between 1985 and 1997 to contact them. Perth has been covered in a blanket of fog this morning after copping a rain-soaked cold front. Rebecca Nichols has the latest.
Good morning. Well, it may not look like it right now, but there was a blanket of fog over Perth and Perth's CBD in the early hours of this morning. That fog hung around for several hours. It lifted at around 8:30 this morning. Traffic certainly slowed down, particularly during peak hour traffic, as authorities issued a warning for drivers to stay safe on the roads and to keep their headlights on, particularly because of the reduced visibility. Of course, fog and rain, they go hand in hand, don't they? And there is a chance of showers later this evening. Tomorrow, same story. However, we could see a thunderstorm tomorrow evening, most likely in our northern suburbs. Sunday, showers again, but winds are likely to pick up to around that 40 to 45 kilometres an hour. It looks as though there will be showers every single day next week. So certainly have the brolly handy because winter is well and truly here.
The controversial Ministerial Direction 99 that's allowed foreign criminals to stay in Australia will be revoked later this month. As Isabel Mullen reports, the Immigration Minister has just provided an update.
Well, the Immigration Minister Andrew Giles held a press conference in Melbourne a short time ago announcing that he has signed Direction 110 to replace Direction 99. He insists it will improve community safety, revealing that dangerous foreign criminals were actually dodging deportation by relying on a loophole in Direction 99. It meant that dangerous criminals that were born overseas but had lived in Australia for a long time could argue that they had strong ties to the community. Visa cancellations were overturned by the Administrative Appeals Tribunal, including that of a New Zealand man convicted of raping his stepdaughter and a Sudanese man accused of murder. The minister signed Direction 99 last year. Today he's made some changes, claiming the old direction was being misinterpreted by the AAT.
The new revised direction will make crystal clear that the Australian government expects community protection to be given greater weight when it comes to visa decisions. It also elevates the impact on victims of family violence and their families into one of the existing primary considerations. The existing Direction 99 will be revoked on the 21st of June when Direction 110 comes into effect.
There are about 10 cases that will still be decided under the existing direction, but the minister stresses he has the power to overturn any decisions that he deems to be inappropriate.
There's been mixed political reaction in Canberra this morning to allegations that Nine Entertainment chairman Peter Costello shoved a journalist to the ground while walking through the capital's airport. The former treasurer denies assaulting a reporter from the Australian newspaper who'd been questioning him about a sexual harassment scandal at the network.
He was backing backwards. He hit an advertising placard. I did not lay a finger or a fist or anything else on it.
My view is that if a journalist asks you a question, you stop and answer it. And that's the simplest way to do it, rather than to sort of try and run away or say no comment or, accidentally knock somebody over.
I've known Peter Costello for many years and I've never known or found him to be aggressive in nature.
Police haven't received a formal complaints at this stage. At least 40 people have reportedly been killed in an Israeli airstrike on a school in Gaza that had been sheltering displaced Palestinians. 14 children are among the dead. Israel's military claims it was targeting a group of terrorists who'd been hiding at the site, which is run by the United Nations.
It's just another horrific example of the price that civilians are paying, that Palestinian men, women and children who are just trying to survive, who are being forced to move around in sort of a death circle around Gaza.
The White House is demanding transparency from the IDF on the strike. Fire authorities have warned it's just a matter of time before someone gets hurt in Melbourne's tobacco wars. A further 2 stores have been targeted by arsonists.
Another night and more arson attacks on businesses before dawn. This morning, 2 more targeted, the worst in the northern suburb of Coburg around 4:25. A vape and shisha shop engulfed. 28 firefighters had it under control in half an hour, thankfully not spreading to the buildings next door, but inside is destroyed. Parts of the ceiling have caved in. The awning over the footpath now at risk of collapse, and traffic was blocked and trams stopped for hours.
It was quite a large fire, involved 2 shops that are adjoined. There were no damage to the shops either side. We confined the fire to the building of origin. So we're looking at about probably around $500,000 damage. Both buildings are being gutted.
Around 80 minutes earlier, another attack on a tobacco shop across town in Footscray. At that one, a vehicle rammed the security shutter, trying to get inside, but their attempts to set that on fire were unsuccessful. A jerry can left on the road, and police collected a balaclava from inside the car. Both incidents believed to be part of the ongoing and widespread tobacco war between crime groups. There was another targeted attack yesterday morning at a convenience store on Chapel Street in Paran, where 2 men smashed their way in, then spread fuel inside and out on the footpath, then set it alight, and one of their feet even caught fire. In the past 16 months, around 80 businesses have been firebombed in Victoria.
Royals and world leaders have gathered in France to pay tribute to those who died fighting for freedom on the 80th anniversary of the D-Day landings. Europe Bureau Chief Hugh Whitfeld reports from the American Cemetery at Omaha Beach in France.
The D-Day veterans are now well into their 90s or beyond the age of 100, wheeled into the International Commemorative Service here in Normandy to be greeted by kings and princes, presidents and prime ministers. They all have incredible stories to tell, and it was a day of very special, poignant moments right across the Normandy coast, with flypasts and memorial services held along the beaches, marking 80 years since the 160,000 Allied troops landed on the Normandy coast to drive the Nazis from continental Europe. The King and Queen were joined by British veterans at the UK Memorial, His Majesty saying free nations must stand together to oppose tyranny. Prince William was at the Canadian Memorial alongside Justin Trudeau, and the US President Joe Biden here at the American Memorial, along with the French President Emmanuel Macron at Omaha Beach, with a question of just how stable the victory won and the peace attained 80 years ago was ever present. Russia wasn't mentioned by name, but the conflict in Ukraine certainly was.
The price of unchecked tyranny is the blood of the young and the brave. In their generation, in their hour of trial, The Allied forces of D-Day did their duty. Now the question for us is, in our hour of trial, will we do ours? Will we stand for freedom? Will we defend democracy? Will we stand together? My answer is yes, and only can be yes.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, a special guest here, embraced by those D-Day veterans, a reminder of the present-day threats that Europe faces. The reality, of course, is, though, that there will be fewer of those veterans around in the years to come. This 80th anniversary considered to be a very special one.
You're watching 7's Morning News live from Perth. Still to come, SpaceX success. The Starship mega rocket launches into orbit before its ocean splashdown. And Netflix in hot water. The baby reindeer inspiration sues the streaming giants. A TV doctor famed for his fasting diets has gone missing on a Greek island. Dr. Michael Mosley's wife alerted police to his disappearance after he set out on a coastal hike and never returned. A wide-scale search and rescue operation has now begun for the 67-year-old. Sniffer dogs and drones have been deployed and a helicopter flown from Athens. The local mayor fears it could be impossible to find the father of four, saying teams searching the small area would have found him by now. At least 7 people have drowned, most of them children, after a school bus ran off the road, plunging into a river in northwest Syria. Rescue teams searched for up to 6 hours for survivors along the cliffside and river. More than 20 people were taken to the nearest hospital, most of whom were girls. The cause of the crash is under investigation. Netflix is being sued by a Scottish woman who claims to be the inspiration for the hit series Baby Reindeer. Fiona Harvey says she's wrongly portrayed as deranged serial stalker Martha Scott, who was jailed for sexual assault. The lawsuit seeks more than $180 million from the streamer, claiming defamation, gross negligence and violating the right to privacy. SpaceX's Starship mega rocket completed its first full test flight today, returning to Earth without exploding after the last 3 flights came to a fiery end. As Miley Hogan reports, the Starship hopes to eventually reach the Moon and then Mars.
It is the most powerful rocket in the world, and it shows just watching it take off. This is SpaceX's Starship. It rumbled off the pad, making a smooth ascent to space. This is the 4th test flight of the Starship to check several key elements of its systems, including the landing, burn and splashdown of its booster. Minutes after liftoff, the booster separated from the spacecraft and splashed down into the Gulf of Mexico as planned.
And we have splashdown! Congratulations to the SpaceX team!
The flight wasn't flawless though. Parts of the spacecraft broke away during the intense heat of re-entry, but it remained intact, a major step forward from the previous test flights when the booster was destroyed. The Starship aims to become a new method of flying cargo and people beyond Earth and eventually to the Moon and Mars. It comes as Boeing's new Starliner capsule carrying 2 astronauts successfully docked at the International Space Station after taking off from Florida yesterday. Boeing is attempting to take on SpaceX in the sector. It's all part of NASA's plan to expand its use of commercial vessels to transport cargo and astronauts into space.
Stay with us on 7. Sport is coming up after the break, including Richmond stunning the Crows, leaving Adelaide's season in freefall. And all the highlights from a teen prodigy Socceroos debut against Bangladesh.
7 News knows Perth.
Headlines flash by all day.
But to know the news, watch 7 News at 6 o'clock.
And here's why.
Our reporters are newsbreakers.
The man in the back of that police car was arrested right here on the side of busy Belia Drive.
With more exclusive reports
that dig deeper
and demand answers.
We commit to travel to wherever the stories happen, even the front line.
Chris Reason from Channel 7 Australia.
As international news unfolds in Europe.
We're live to you at 6 p.m.
breaking down the global issues that matter back home in Perth. 7 News understands that
Our reporters travel from suburb to suburb.
It happened at Point Walter
And across our state to bring you the news.
This show only in June.
This is the team we trust.
And thank you
For trusting 7 News.
Leading goal kicker Jake Waterman is back for the West Coast Eagles. Waterman returns from a mild shoulder injury to take on North Melbourne. Debutant Jack Hutchinson is in for his first game, just 11 days after being picked up in the mid-season draft, while Jai Cully returns to the AFL side for the first time since rupturing his ACL in round 8 last year. Zane True and Jack Williams have been dropped. Harley Reid is suspended. Richmond's second win of the AFL season has just about finished off Adelaide's finals chances. The Tigers led by a point at half-time before kicking 5 unanswered goals in the third term at Adelaide Oval. Small forward Noah Cumberland booted 3 goals with just 4 kicks.
Slapped down to Cumberland, got boot to ball. He's got 3. Look at the energy, look at the excitement from the Tiger players.
Cumberland got a bit excited, overturning a mark due to his excessive celebration, but the Tigers still won 79-71. The Crows are 14th, 10 points outside the top 8.
We're low on confidence. We got no excuses. We just need to be better post-siren. We sit here in a pretty dark spot.
Tonight it's the Bulldogs and Lions live on 7 and 7 Mates. The Boston Celtics have taken Game 1 of the NBA Finals Series against the Dallas Mavericks. The return of Kristaps Porzingis after 10 games out, a massive boost for Boston with 20 points and 3 crucial blocks.
Porzingis way outside, knocks down another. What a start in his Finals debut.
The Celtics comfortable winners, 107-89. Coco Gauff has been knocked out of the French Open in controversy, trailing Igor Swiatek. An early line call, then overrule, almost left the American in tears. The umpire refused to replay the point, despite Gauff clearly being put off by the early call. Gauff took a moment to compose herself, but Swiatek won 6-2, 6-4. She'll play for her 3rd straight Roland Garros title. The world number 1 will face Jasmine Paolini in the final. The 28-year-old Italian defeated 17-year-old Mira Andreeva 6-3, 6-1 to reach her maiden Grand Slam final. The Socceroos' brightest young talent made a quiet debut, but 18-year-old Nestori Irankunda still showed glimpses, combining with Aiden Rustic in last night's 2-0 win over Bangladesh.
Long range effort deflected. Oh, that's unfortunate for Bangladesh, but Australia won't care.
Irankunda brings the ball back. Look how far out he is. That's a speculator.
Nothing away from Aiden Rustic.
It continues an unbeaten run through the second stage of World Cup qualifying that finishes with Palestine here in Perth on Tuesday night. World cricket officials hoping for a boom from America have a dream result at the T20 World Cup. In Texas, Pakistan scored 7 for 159 before USA tied their score, sending the match to a super over. America then smashed 18 runs, assisted by 7 wides from Muhammad Amir. He's the player once jailed for spot fixing. A screamer in the outfield secured the 5-run upset victory for the USA.
Brilliant effort from Milan Kumar, diving forward. What a catch!
America is now 2 wins from 2 games at the T20 World Cup. All your weather details next on 7's Morning News. See you after the break. The Eiffel Tower is getting a makeover ahead of the Paris Olympic Games. The iconic rings, measuring 29 metres long and 15 metres high, will adorn the landmark from tomorrow to mark 50 days before the Games begin. The Olympic rings will be positioned on the tower's south side, overlooking the Seine, and will be there until the Games end on August 11. Checking the weather now, it's currently 18.4 degrees and partly cloudy in the city. As we heard earlier, lots of heavy fog across Perth this morning. Looking at the forecast for the suburbs, 21 along the coast from Joondalup down to Fremantle. The same top for Bullsbrook and Armidale, slightly lower, and 20 in Rockingham and Mandurah. And it's looking like the rain will continue into the weekend, particularly heavy on Sunday with up to 15 millimetres expected. Tops of 21 again from tomorrow through to Monday. And then we should start to see temperatures cool with a low of 11 degrees for Wednesday and Thursday next week. That is 7's Morning News for this Friday. Thanks for your company. Stay with us. We'll have updates for you across the afternoon and our bulletins at 4 and 6. I'm Tim McMillan. Enjoy your day.